Good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, September the 30th. Hey, I'm joining you from the shadows of Mount Shasta in Northern California on a family outing, but wanted to check in and make sure that we covered the fishing reports. We got Tom, Lee, Josh, and Gentry going to share the information on their neck of the woods. We'll be right back with what the guys have to say. Good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, September 30th. Hey, we're joined by Tom Ott, going to talk a little bit of Guntersville fishing. Tom, what's going on that big Tennessee River impoundment?
Well, I tell you, Dano, it's more of the same. I was a little disappointed in the past week out there. The fish are definitely making that transition move. The bait is making moves all over the place. I mean, I think your big bays, your creeks, things like that are where the fish are, or the bait is most prevalent. But the big fish are just not everywhere. I mean, I went and hit a lot of different areas that I expected to find bait. I expected to catch fish, and I caught nothing. I just drew a bunch of water in. So, it's not easy right now, just because of those movements of the fish. But I think if you land on the right spot, you're going to be in real good shape. Still, the biggest fish that are being caught are really the flipping fish. The frog bite is coming. It's getting better and better. We're getting these shorter days. We're getting some cooler nights, and that's starting to cheese up that grass a lot more. I think every day is just going to keep increasing until the mat actually disappears. But it's just not an easy catch out there. It's still very tough to catch those limits. I know that we had a super tournament last weekend. That was fantastic. A lot of good fish that were caught, but probably not by Guntersville standards. I mean, we didn't see 20 pounds each day, so really close, but not quite. There's still some fish out deep you can catch. Extremely finicky on the deep side, but you can catch a few. I think you'd have to catch some, move off, and come back at a later time and see if you could fire off a few more. But it's just not easy right now. But the fishing is good. The weather's perfect, and we got a full moon. So it's all coming together right now. But the jury's out on how many big fish we can catch.
Yeah, I think Phil Dutra won that super tournament there. Didn't catch the weight, being away in small, low signal area. I wasn't able to really study the thing so much, but I know Phil won that tournament. The crappie bite's got to be getting pretty close, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I've talked to a bunch of guys, and like I said last weekend, we're seeing a lot of people starting to hit around those causeways, and the fish are always going to be there. Again, that's a timing thing, maybe a nighttime or early morning kind of bite for those crappie, but they're definitely starting to move that way. And I think that the deeper creeks moving into those causeways, where you might find stumps on the edge of those creeks, that's where you're going to find your crappie starting to bunch up.
Well, Tom, as always, brother, we appreciate it. Thanks again, and we'll talk to you next week.
All right, Dano, you guys be safe out there and tight lines. We'll talk to you soon.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, September 30th. Hey, we're joined by Josh Heron today, who's going to tell us all about Logan Martin and Lay Lake. Josh, days are getting shorter, nights are getting longer, temperatures are starting to drop a little bit. What's the effect on the fishing?
Well, we got a lot of bait moving, and that's a good thing. We got a lot of bait that's kind of pushing out of the river and kind of funneling back into some of these big flat pockets, and it starting to back up in some of these creeks. The water temperature is definitely starting to come down a little bit at a time, which is a good thing, and especially with the lack of river flow we've had. So these fish are definitely they're keying up on little bait, and there's a lot of big gizzards running around right now too. So you can run around on some of these flats and do stuff like throw a whopper plopper, uh, quarter ounce buzzbait with a little spinner or with a little swim bait on. It's a really good option right now. Uh, like a little 3/8 double willow spinner bait's another really good option. So it's you're just trying to imitate these smaller bait fish that these fish are kind of keying on right now. Or the other end of the spectrum is you throw like an 8-inch glide bait for these big gizzard chasers.
Are you seeing a lot of fish chasing the gizzard, or is it going to be one of those things where it's onesie twosie?
No, it's just onesie twosies. It seems like some of these bigger fish are really keyed up on gizzards right now, though. And That's kind of where more your quality is and your quantity is. There's a lot of fish on these pods of baits that are kind of getting up and roaming the shallows right now.
Are you seeing big fish being taken, or are you having to just basically weed through a bunch of them to get one or two?
No, I mean most of my better fish I'm catching right now is like a glide bait or a whopper plopper, and it's like I said, it's a onesie twosie deal. There's not a lot of them anywhere. It seems like the big quantities or biomasses of fish that you get on right now are going to be some of these smaller fish that are on this smaller bait.
What about swimming little grubs, little swim baits, little things like that on a lead head? Is that a feasible thing
Yeah,
right now?
absolutely. That's always a really good option too. Like a little dipper or kayak or even something like a spunk shad, thrown on like a shad head and just kind of wind and drop almost like you would like a shallow hair jig's really good technique to do on some of these flats, and it helps you cover a lot of ground versus dragging.
Well, as always, Josh, brother, we appreciate everything, man. Thanks for the insights. Go catch a big one on that Tato Eon Glide. It's the best thing going out there. Well, good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, September 30th. Hey, we're joined by Lee Pitt. Hey, what's going on Neely Henry?
Neely's doing okay. It's one of those deals that we've still got that September just kind of hanging on, hanging on. I'm ready to, as they say, turn the page. I'm ready to turn the page. Let's get to October where these fish start turning on. But catching some spots, they're starting to chase bait a little bit. More spinner bait and still some grass stuff going on. And then, of course, they're backing out with that. A lot of guys are still throwing a shaky head and catching some of these fish when they start pulling water. That seems to be the key. When you can get around bait, spinner bait, a little small crankbait, and then slowing down with a shaky head, that seems to be working pretty good right now on the spotted bass.
How far do you think we are from the lake really starting to turn on?
I think 2 weeks, and that's if we don't have another 4 days of summer. If we start to keep having these cooler nights and get a little bit more nip in the air. I know midweek this week, water temp on Weiss was 78 daylight, then hitting up to 82, 83. So when we start looking at it dropping in those low 70s, I think things are really, really going to turn on quick.
What about the crappie bite on Neely? Is that starting to pick up a little bit?
It is. It's doing. Crappie are doing a little better on Neely than they are Weiss right now. Got a lot of still the brush piles out there, especially down below 77. Some of that, the main lake, bigger part of the river right there. These fish can kind of get behind some of that structure. The majority of it, they're starting to get on docks a little bit, but everything seems to still be out in that river, main lake, out there in that deep water, holding close and tight to brush.
A little bit of tough fishing there. Talk about Weiss Lake for me. What's happened up there?
I kept thinking it was going to keep climbing that ladder, but I believe we missed a rung and it stepped back a little bit. But Weiss has been tough this week. We've had a couple events. Last Saturday had the Federation came in here, and I think 13 pounds. Rusty Burroughs won it with 13 pounds. And then this week in some of our local evening tournaments, it's a 3 fish deal, but you're looking at 6, 7, 8 pounds winning. It's been a little tough, and some of the guys that I've talked to that buzz bait and the top water bite that was coming on, it slowed down. I don't know what's happening, but these guys have backed out in some of the deeper water, and I'm not saying summertime deep, but on that river, around your laydowns, around some kind of brush cover, and just kind of slowing down. Once again, shaky heads and a smaller jig has been pretty good. But that chase bait, your whopper ploppers, buzz bait, things like that have just really not done a whole lot this week. And I'm hoping that it's one of those deals like the fuse kind of sputted just for a little bit and slowed down. It's fixing to really explode here in another week or so.
Well, Lee, as always, brother, we appreciate it. Thanks for the time. We'll talk to you again next week. Good morning, everyone. This is Dan O'Sullivan with your Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, September 30th. Hey, we're joined by Gentry Gordy, going to talk a little bit of Jordan Lake and Lake Martin. Let's go Lake Martin this time.
All right. It's getting there, Dano. This is that time of year where usually you can get your big spots to come up and eat a plug at the mouth of some of the pockets over that deeper water. I think we're still a little bit out from that, but it's getting there. It's something to look for. Now, your smaller fish will come up and eat, but those real big spots, I think they're just a couple weeks behind. The water's down about a foot and a half. I think it's slowly starting to get the winter pool. When it does that, I look for blowdowns that'll remain in the water, your trash piles. But I'm going up there with a big top water plug, a chatterbait. Even this time of year with the full moon, the brim, can always be a factor. And your deeper docks with your shaky heads and stuff like that. It's kind of a free for all.
Sounds like, yeah, you can do just about anything. What's the one thing that you'd be doing right now?
Top water plug and a buzz bait. Just, that's one of my favorites, covering a lot of water. And, fun fishing, you'll get a lot of bites, but, if you got a tournament up there, your buzz bait always takes a chance of a big largemouth up there.
Yeah, it sounds like you might want a walking plug like a Reaction Innovations Vixen or a Arctic Outlaw, something like that up there. We got those in the loft. All right, let's turn our attention to Jordan Lake. What would you be doing up there?
All right, so Jordan fell down a couple feet and come back up. I think it was yesterday. I didn't get a chance to get up there, but talked to some friends. They said that kind of moved those fish, understandably when it drops, like it did and comes back up. But he said the trash piles are really firing right now. I'm assuming, when the water dropped, it kind of pushed them off. They're probably hanging out right there. Still getting some bites on top water plugs and buzz baits, of course, kind of like Martin on the seawalls and stuff. You've got your upriver thing that always plays, but he said your bigger fish are coming off those trash piles and 8 to 15 foot of water.
Is it something that a swim bait, a jig? Are you going to have to go in for them, or can you get them to come out of those piles?
My theory is always swim something over the top, with a swim bait or slow down a spinner bait or a crankbait, something like that. I always try that first. Get your reaction bite, then take a Texas rig, jig, shake your head, something, put it right in the trash pile.
Sounds good, Gentry, brother. As always, we appreciate it. Thanks for the time. We'll talk to you again next week, my friend.
Yes, sir, guys. Y'all take care.
Well, that'll do it for our Bucks Island Area Fishing Report for Saturday, September the 30th. I got out and went fishing a little bit with my dad and Billy Hines and my daughter's fiance on Trinity Lake. I hope you're doing the same on our home waters down there in Alabama. And we will talk to you soon. Don't forget, Bucks Island has what you need to get on the water, stay on the water, and put fish in that boat once you're there. Thanks for everything that you do. Thanks for the time that you spend with us and for being the best part of Bucks Island. Talk to you again next week.